In the heart of Jerusalem once stood a temple not merely built of stone, but of secrets. Every wall, every measure, every golden chamber followed a pattern, a geometry whispered by heaven itself. This was Solomon's temple, God's house encoded with the mathematics of creation. Some say the blueprint was given to David in a dream, then passed down to his son, King Solomon, who built it exactly as directed. And at its heart, the Holy of Holies, was a smaller cube, touching the ground at exactly 613 points. 613, the number of commandments in the Torah. But that raises the question, why? Why would the most sacred place in Judaism, the very dwelling of God on earth, be designed with such precision? What if everything from the placement of the Ark of the Covenant to the shape of the temple itself was orchestrated by divine geometry, a language older than humanity, deeper than any earthly blueprint? It all begins with the measurements, 60 cubits long, 20 cubits wide. At first glance, seemingly random, yet these numbers are far from arbitrary. They align with ratios found in nature, in the seashells and galaxies, a signature of the cosmos itself. Enter the golden section, phi, approximately 1.618, a ratio found everywhere from sunflowers to spiral galaxies. 60 divided by 20 gives us 3, close to the golden section. Could this be a coincidence? What's more, 60 can be divided by 3 to get 20. In other words, the length of the temple is 3 parts to every 2 parts width, echoing the cosmic harmony of phi. It doesn't end there. If we apply the golden section to the height of the temple, adding the missing dimension to our equation, we arrive at an astonishing conclusion. 60 cubits by 20 cubits by 10 cubits. Voila! The volume of Solomon's temple, when converted to liters, is very close to 2 pi cubed. Pi, the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter, often represented by the Greek letter pi, approximately 3.14159. Pi is perhaps the most famous mathematical constant, infinite, irrational, and forever a source of fascination. Here it is again, hiding in plain sight. But why? What could be the significance of these numerical harmonies? Some say it's no coincidence that the very foundation of the temple resonates with sacred intervals like the octave and the perfect fifth found in music. These intervals are also found in the harmonics of light waves, the overtones of creation, the intervals of the cosmos. Was Solomon, knowingly or unknowingly, tuning the temple into a giant instrument, a vessel to resonate with the very frequencies of the universe? But why stop at the exterior measurements? Inside the temple, scholars have discovered more hidden harmonies. Using a device called a caliper, they found the flower of life, a series of overlapping circles containing all possible sacred geometric proportions, including the most recognizable, the golden section. They found the vesica piscis, the shape of a fish, a symbol of early Christianity. It represents the birth of Jesus Christ, conceived by the Holy Spirit, the divine blueprint within the blueprint. And then there are the proportions of the human body, the microcosm within the macrocosm, reminding us that man is made in the image of God. Like Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man centuries later, the temple echoed the idea, man is made in the image of God. And the temple was a mirror of the human soul, perfectly proportioned, harmonious, a masterpiece of sacred geometry. The most sacred place in the temple, the Holy of Holies, where the Ark of the Covenant rested, was a cube, a perfect cube. And here is where the divine blueprint truly reveals itself. If we take the length and width of the temple and multiply them together, we get 1,200 square cubits. Add the height, and we get 1,200 cubits cubed, a perfect cube. But it gets even more fascinating. In other words, the entire temple, with all its chambers and courts, was based on a cube, the most basic, pure form in geometry. At this point, the earth touched the heavens. For the priests who walked into the Holy of Holies, they weren't just entering a room. They were stepping into a living equation, a tangible expression of the divine. Every sacrifice, every psalm, was a harmonic resonance. Mathematics expressed as worship. Over the centuries, Solomon's temple was destroyed, rebuilt, and destroyed again. But its geometry lives on, echoing in churches, cathedrals, and even modern architecture. For the temple was never just a building. It was, and is, the divine blueprint.